Investors are ruining the hobby. It's ridiculous that we can't get access to new product at reasonable prices, and it's because all of the investor bros are out there swooping up all of the product in stores, on shelves, online, and then the secondary market price skyrockets. This is absolutely ridiculous. And then you have influencers like Nostalgianomics and others talking about how amazing this market is. It's absolutely disgusting, and I cannot believe anybody actually follows those influencers and content creators. They're literally contributing to the problem. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Matt with RARTCG. That was a little bit of rage bait to get us primed and ready for the conversation about whether or not investors are truly hurting the hobby. Do I believe the intense statements I just said? No. I'm going to be honest, I am much more level-headed and kind of in the middle ground of this conversation. And as I said, I think this is nuanced. So some of you watching this may have already gotten upset about what I said about Nostalgianomics and investors. And some of you are going to listen to my takes and on both sides, whether you're a hardcore investor or hardcore like hobbyist, true collector, you're probably both going to get mad at me, and I'm okay with that because I think that encourages a good and healthy conversation. Before we dive in, don't forget to like and comment. It really helps out in the algorithm and the just content space. Even if you hate what I'm saying, you dislike everything, hit that dislike button, but also drop down in the comment section and let me know why you disagree with me. Whether you're a hardcore investor or a true collector. I want to know, I want to learn from you guys. I want to hear about your perspectives and your opinions because it helps broaden me and my perspective on the market. So let's go ahead and dive in. So we do have this hardcore investor stance. Nostalgianomics loves to take this stance, and I think that he lives it out. Like he truly is who he says he is. He talks about how the market, the way it is, prices will never return back to normal. We're never going to go back to how things were with $80 boxes, $90 boxes. Now we have private equity and all this money flooding into the hobby. It'll never be the same. But here's the deal. I think that Nostalgianomics, Alex, I think that he's functioning off of a certain rule, a certain set of rules and criteria that are the presupposition of what he's saying, of his argument, of his bull case. You know what I mean? And I think that you got to be careful when it comes to content creators because all of us do this. First of all, two things. Number one, all content creators have an agenda. We all want to get more views. We all want to make more money. All of those things are true, whether you are an opossum bud or you're an Alex from Nostalgianomics. We all want interactions, clicks, views. All of that monetarily benefits us. So whether or not you're a reseller, like in a Nostalgianomics, a rip and shipper, reseller, investor, evil, scummy guy, or you are someone like an opossum bud, Akira, those like, if Opossum Bud makes AdSense and ad revenue off of his content, then he has a quote-unquote business. Then he is quote-unquote profiting from the Pokemon card hobby. Now, there's semantics there, and I can see how, I don't know if Opossum Bud's ever going to see this, and I hate that I'm like, it feels like I'm throwing shade at him, but I watch almost all of his videos. Super big fan. I'm a fan of Alex too, just by the way. I'm not trying to throw shade. What I'm trying to say is there is a reality where every single person, your Team Rocket Joes, your Nostalgianomics, your Pokémon, your Alpha Investments, all of us in the content realm, if we are, trying to grow a channel in order to make money off of YouTube, if we're already, built up with subscriber base and making money, like all of us are benefiting in one way or the other from the Pokemon card hobby, from your views. So there's always an agenda. Number two is when you see Pokemon creators give such strong opinions and such strong takes on things, is because we are working from a foundation of beliefs and of rules and criteria. And a lot of times we build that up in a way that we can never be wrong. And this is what I mean about that. I'm going to pick on Alex now on the other side. Alex is known for some of his hot takes, some of his hit you in the face, punch you in the throat kind of takes. Doesn't feel very good. Doesn't feel like he's really pro, hobbyist, pro collector. But I don't think that's actually the case. I think that Alex, when he says things will never be the same, when things will never return to normal, when we'll never have prices the way that they were, he's not saying that the prices won't correct. He's not saying that prices will never return to below MSRP. He is making very specific and strategic statements, okay? He is saying things in a very particular way because when things downturn, which I believe they will, when things downturn, he can still position himself as if he was never wrong, okay? I think that that's probably a wise way to create content, but I also think that when you make such grandiose statements and when people perceive you a certain way, then you're going to get a lot of backlash, and that's totally fine. It's part of it, having the content creator kind of, persona and everything. But I promise you, listen carefully to what Alex says. There is not a world, whether Pokemon 3x's 30 times, goes 100x up, or whether it downturns by 50%, 75%, and we're back at $120 booster boxes. There is no case where Alex would say or claim that he was wrong. And that's intentional by him and other content creators. They build up this foundation of beliefs, of criteria, of presuppositions to where them and their argument is always true. So just know that, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is, one, when you click on a video, don't just believe that person is 100% for you and for the community. They only have your best in mind. The truth is, we all want clicks and views. We can be genuine. We can truly care about you, but always know at the end of the day, when you're watching videos, there is a story behind the story. Number two, try not to argue with people online. All of us have presuppositions. All of us build our cases and arguments up in a way that we feel like we're right and we can never be wrong. So just know that. So if you comment down below, what I can promise you is I will not be trying to change your mind. I just want to learn about your perspective. And even if we hardcore disagree, I'm okay with that. And I think that's healthy to have that disagreement, have that friction, and the nuance of the conversation. So is private equity, are investors ruining the hobby? Now that we're 7 minutes in. Bottom line, short answer is no. I don't think they're ruining the hobby. I think that investors in large amounts of money, people with large networks have already been in the hobby for a very long time. There's a couple points from one of Alex's recent videos on private equity and everything being in the hobby that I want to call back to because I think they're really important. He says that with private equity and large amounts of money moving in, seeing Pokemon as the investment that it's always been, now that it's proven, it's better than the S&P 500 in some situations and all this other stuff. He says that it'll never be the same, and all that money is going to create this foundation, this structure behind the hobby underneath that's going to make things more stable. Prices are going to be more stable. And I think Alex, in saying that, is obviously we're assuming that Alex would like to see prices elevate and stabilize, right? I agree with a lot of that. I think that with more money, buying up product and all of this stuff, I think it will stabilize the Pokemon card hobby, but maybe not in the way that you assume it would. Because private equity, a lot of money, Bitcoin billionaires or whatever, those people jumping into the hobby, they are not running the targets. They're not buying the newest sets. You know what I mean? They're not the scalpers that you see. Private equity is going to be investing in older historical items that are going to be established, have an established price. And I think why we're seeing so many people move into things right now is because the vintage market is honestly it's been low for a long time, ever since the 2021 boom. Now, please note, I do want to be honest here, is I'm newer to the hobby. I've been a Pokemon fan all my life. I collected cards when they first came out in the 90s. I've been around, right? But seriously involved in learning about everything, it's been in the last 2 years. And so I've watched and consumed a lot of content from years ago, trying to better understand how these cycles work so that I can be better educated as a collector, as someone in the hobby, and also as a business and reseller, because I think things right now are volatile. I think we're about to see some big shifts in the market based off of what I've seen, based off of what I saw in the past. I'm not by any means claiming to know what's going to happen, but I do think we're going to see some mix-ups and shake-ups within the market. So back to this conversation about private equity and large amounts of money. Those large amounts of money are going to move towards very established singles, very established sealed product. It's not going to be like private equity is not moving into the gold Lucario and gold Gardevoir cards from Mega Evolutions. And I think this is a very important thing for us to think about, okay? Private equity, large amounts of money, love stability. Yes, you invest money to grow your money, but you're not gonna risk large amounts of private equity for a card or for a set that could downturn by 75% in the coming months. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not reality. That's not real. Really smart people don't do that with their money. Not in large ways. So what I'm trying to say is this is not as dire and this is not as crazy as you think for the like true collector and like hobbyist that's in the hobby. It's not even that impactful for resellers, in my opinion. I think that newer sets, I'm saying, honestly, I'm gonna make a statement here. I could be wrong, that's totally fine. I think that sets from, I think recent sets up to about 2 to 4 years are probably relatively safe. I think that large amounts of money want to move in to very established things. And this is particularly like specifically about the private equity, like big players jumping in, right? I think they're looking for more established sectors of the market that may be undervalued right now. That's why I called out vintage. So anyways, that's my thoughts process on private equity. I think it will bring more stability to the overall hobby by securing and creating insulation in the like historical vintage stuff that's out there. Okay. I do not think I don't think the casual consumer of Pokemon is going to be overly impacted by that. But I do think that will create insulation, which is really good for us. Now let's talk about investors, because I don't think private equity is going to move into newer sets, but investors clearly do. Investors want a secure product and sit on it long enough so it appreciates so they can make money off of that investment. Investors have been around since day one, in my opinion. Pokemon is also, there's more investors now than ever before, 100%. I mean, look at the YouTube videos. Look at me creating this right now. Like, there's going to be views on this YouTube video because it has to do with investing. But I don't think investors are the bad guy. I think that they've been around and part of the hobby forever. And in fact, if you really extrapolate, really big math, really big brain math here, is if you have ever dreamt, if you've watched a Deep Pocket Monster video and said, man, one day I want to open a tag team pack. Man, one day I want to open some Sun and Moon packs. I want to open a base pack. I want to open a fossil pack. Like big brain, like big brain. Why do those packs still exist? Why are they still around? Well, it's because somebody had the foresight to say, man, I like the look of that box. I'm going to throw it in my closet. And actually, I want about 20 of them boxes because one's never enough. Is that person a sealed collector? Is that how we justify that? Or are they an investor? Because if they ever, at what point does a sealed collector become an investor? You know, like that's the big brain. At the point that that person says, oh, maybe I don't need 300 fossil boxes in my closet anymore. Maybe I need 293 of them. And they sell 7. Well, I think that that person just became an investor, right? Like they set on that and now they're ready to unload it, cash out. Anyways, I think that investors are actually really good for the hobby is the point I'm trying to make in a very facetious way. I'm so sorry, that's probably pretty cringe. But what I'm trying to say is investors serve a really important role in the hobby, and that is preserving products. Because the truth is that Pokemon, while they probably could go back and print fossil, they're not going to, okay? And so the only reason we have fossil packs and boxes available to open and enjoy and love and grade and all those things is because some crazy investor back in the day was like, you know what, I think these cards could be worth something in the future, and I need about 300 to 600 of them boxes in my closet. Like, that's the only reason we have those available. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think it's a beautiful thing for the hobby. I want to open Tag Team one day because I freaking want the Tag Team Piplup Blastoise Alt-Art. In fact, just a second, hold up. I have to show this off. Look at this. One of my favorite content creators, PokePastor TCG, I got this from him. Shout out to him. Go watch his videos, support his business, all that kind of stuff on TCG Player, all that. Got great content. This is like a grail chase for me. Okay, I know this is not like a super high-end tag team card. It's just the base Piplup Blastoise, but that thing is sick. Look at Piplup. Anyways, grail chase. The reason why I can enjoy it, this is pack fresh, by the way. Pack freaking fresh. I'm getting too excited. The reason why I can now enjoy this in my collection is because some crazy person back in the day said, I'm not going to open that tag team box. I'm going to put it in my closet. And I'm glad they did. And I'm glad they made money when they sold it so that I could one day have that card in my collection. It's an ecosystem. We all, like, from the hobbyist, from the collector to the investor to the reseller to the player of the game. We all love and cherish the hobby and make it as amazing as it is. I will live by that. I will be on top of that hill fighting to the death on that statement alone. I think that there's enough room in here for all of us to coexist. So let's go ahead and start landing the ship. We're 16 minutes in. Side note here is, at the time of recording this, I got 996 subscribers. That is so nerve-wrackingly close to 1,000. I can't express to you how anxious I am about getting 4 more subscribers. And then secondly, I don't know if I ever thought I would get to this point, like, in as short of a time as I have. And you may think of that and be like, well, no, duh, bro. Like, Pokemon's super hot, bro. All you gotta do is stand in front of a camera and press record. And I get that that's like a simple thing, but like, you just have to understand, like, if you're watching this and you've ever had a dream of like starting a YouTube channel and making it to 1,000 subscribers, or starting a business and you're so nervous and you're like, I could never do that. I'm just not the right person for that. Like, I had all those thoughts, right? Like, I think it's natural and everyone does, but like, here we are. It's so crazy. It's so awesome. So thank you so much for the support. If you've made it 17 minutes into the video, I thought I would just drop that there for you guys. I really appreciate you guys. Much love. Ending the conversation though, are investors ruining the hobby? I don't think so. I don't think that private equity and large amounts of money are going to jump in and buy out all of our Targets, Best Buys, Walmarts, and GameStops. I don't think that private equity is interested in newer stuff at all. I think they want more insulated, protected, and secure investments. Investors will always be looking to secure products on the cheaper side when things release. But listen, a lower market, a market where things go back down to MSRP or below, actually benefits investors as well, okay? Because, as I said, a true investor is sitting on product for a long time, okay? It's not easy. It's not this like, oh, I bought Mega Evolutions when it released for my pre-order, and I turned around and sold it for $300 and doubled my money. Woo! That's not true investing, right? That's just short-term flipping mindset. I wouldn't even call that's not scalping. That's just a flipper's mindset. That's just trying to capitalize and make money, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think the primary issue right now that we just don't have product is a supply thing. I think that scalpers and the prices, it's all symptoms of the actual problem. We have higher demand than ever, but we also have a supply issue where Pokemon Company has just not been able to supply our area of the hobby with enough supply to meet or get close to meeting demand. I'm not saying, like, people are calling for things to be printed to the ground and everything, and I've said those words before, but it's hard to have a nuanced conversation. Like, I think that from a nuanced perspective, when people say print it to the ground, I think there's very few people that actually mean that they, like, Pokemon should do something to damage their product, right? We're not calling Pokemon to print something so much that it loses all of its value. Now, maybe there's people out there, and if that's you, let me know down in the comments. I think what people are saying is that we just want to see them print enough to where product is available, and product is available at a reasonable price on the secondary market. And all of that's going to come. As I said, I think there's a lot of stuff happening in the Pokemon market right now. I think that there's a shakeup happening right before Black Friday, the holidays, and the 30th anniversary. Are we going back down below MSRP with those three things on the horizon? I don't think so. I think it's going to be a bit longer, but I think we're starting to see the beginnings of something very interesting, and I'm here for the ride. I can't wait to see what happens. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think that investors are ruining the hobby? Love to know. And please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. See you for the next one. Peace.